Hi YouTube, this is Darkon633. We're taking a look at another Transformers review. This time we're going to take a look at Transformers Warrior Class Windblade. Now unfortunately this figure is extremely hard to find, especially with the new wave that includes the repack of Scorponok, Bisque, Ratchet, and some other figures that they also repacked as well. So I actually had to wait until I found this on Amazon, which mysteriously had the figure restocked there. It did restock at Toys R Us just a little bit after, but unfortunately both of those have been sold out since. But I'm happy to finally get a hold of this figure, especially since it seems that they're going straight ahead into the new wave, which is also kind of a bad sign, since a lot of stores, especially in my area from what I could tell, doesn't even have any Warrior Class figures even on the shelf right now, and that's kind of being a little bit worrisome. But other than that, this is still a pretty good toy, and we're going to take a look at it right now. First, we're going to take a look at the box. The box is in the standard Warrior Class box scale. It is a part of the Minicon Weaponizers, which is just the sub-brand that they gave to the figures in the later assortments. Shows that it transfers in 7 steps, and just the typical stuff we've seen with the Warrior boxes. As a comparison, here is Windblade with her older generations release, which unfortunately turned out as a very terrible figure. This one just has a lot of problems. I've actually tried to review that figure several times, but it caused a whole lot of problems in the transformation process, and I just decided to scrap it. Anyways, what's also weird is that the swords, from what I could tell, are actually the same mold. Putting them side by side, I discovered that they're pretty much the exact same mold, except one has a clear plastic and this one's just a matte finish black. So it's kind of weird that they decided to just reuse the sword, but it's understandable, I guess, since it is still Windblade. You can actually allow this to be dual-wielded, so that's good, I guess, if you have a Generations Windblade. Now she actually has both their swords. This one's a little bit harder to get in her hand, though, but once you get it in, though, there we go. So now she's dual-wielding swords. So now we're just going to take Windblade sword out to the side there, and go on to articulation points. First, we're going to take the sword out to make sure it doesn't fall out. Her head is on a ball joint with a good range of movement. She can look up pretty well, and she can look left and right pretty decently for the ball joint there. She has ball joints at the shoulders with good range of movement, and they're very tight on mine. Swivels at the biceps. Really good elbow joints. It seems like this figure just has a lot of tight joints, and that's really good. She has 360 waist articulation. Ball joints at the hips, swivels at the thighs, really good knee joints due to transformation, and the feet can pivot once again due to transformation just a bit. She does include the removable hairpiece, which can be used as a fan, but just like the other figure, it's just way too small to really be used in any good way. I don't really see a good way to even let her hold it, so you just get the idea that she does have it, so we're just going to reattach it there. And now, we'll go on to the transformation. First, what you're going to do is turn the turbine so that they face outward like this. Next, we're going to collapse the feet on both sides. So now we've got it looking like that. We're going to pull this piece up, and it's actually going to snap over the head. It's going to snap into these little empty gaps inside the shoulders. What we're going to do next is turn these around, and these will peg up like so. So it looks like this. Peg the back fins together. Turn this a complete 360. So now you're facing this direction. So you almost got it fully transformed. What you're going to do next is make sure that everything's aligned first. And then you're going to pull this over and push it down. So now you almost got it fully in vehicle mode. And unfortunately the hands just peg onto the sides, and you pretty much got the idea there and how it transforms. So now you got Windblade in her jet mode. The sword can be placed pretty much underneath here. There isn't really a good way to put it in vehicle mode though. And I guess you could just put it in here. Now it looks like, I guess the end of the tip of the sword could be used like a blaster or something. But there isn't a really good way to really use that though. She has no other type of landing gear from what I could tell, but she does have a front landing gear. So it looks like this. And let's see, does she actually have other landing gear? It doesn't look like she does, so I guess it's just like this, because the back pieces here allow her to be a little bit stable upwards, so I think that's why they did not include the landing gear in the back. So you pretty much get the whole understanding of this figure, and I think it's a pretty good figure overall. So overall, this is a fantastic release, personally, in my opinion, in the Warrior class scale. Obviously, it's definitely not the most complex figure, but I think that really benefits it, since the previous release in the Generations line was just way more complicated than it needed to be, especially for a mainline kids toy. It's understandable since it's a lot more stylized, since it is based on a concept used for the IDW comics, and it's just one of those make-a-characters like we've seen with Victorion. But that didn't mean that the figure had to be almost Revenge of the Fallen level style of complex transformation. I forgot to show off earlier that the sword can be sheathed as normal, as we've seen with the vehicle mode, but she can actually store it on the side of her hip, so now she's got it sheathed and ready for combat. So that's really cool that they allow you to do that. The Generations release can do that too, but this is actually still cool that you can actually do it with this figure. Just looking side by side, the figure is actually pretty close to what we see with the Generations release, but the overall transformation and just the presentation of the figure, in my opinion, outside of the paint apps, is much better than what we've seen before. Anyways, I think this is a very good figure to get a hold of, especially if you're a fan of female Transformers. They're just a little bit more different than what we've seen in a lot of characters, since it has a pretty good jet mode, with most of the kibble actually getting hidden except for the hands. So that's a really good thing, actually, that they incorporated in this particular line. Anyways, please comment, subscribe, and check out Hirotaku and Hero Club. Also check me on Twitter, Darkon633, and don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. But before we go, we're actually going to take one more look of Windblade next to the other Autobots. And with that, this covers most of the review. Just looking at all the Autobots together, there's definitely a lot of hit and misses, and with Ratchet being the only main Autobot that I do not currently own, I think this is definitely a really nice spread of characters released for the Robots in Disguise Warrior line. It's understandable that the line had a very bumpy start, but at least this Windblade is still one of the strongest figures, in my opinion, out of the main Autobot releases we've seen so far. So, hopefully you'll be able to find it soon, and I'll be back with more Transformers reviews in the future, but for now, I've been seeing you YouTube. Bye.